Al eeuwenlang maken mensen over de hele wereld dingen mee die ze niet kunnen verklaren. En vaak wordt er dan over geesten gesproken. Of nou ja, het paranormale. Er zijn gevallen dat deze gebeurtenissen ook op camera's zijn vastgelegd en dat is wat wij samen gaan checken vandaag. De engste geestvideo's die op het internet te vinden zijn. Terwijl we beginnen, vertel me vooral jullie ervaringen in de comments. Shoutout Floris, thanks voor je follow op Instagram. En Naomi, thanks voor je leuke reactie op mijn vorige video.
A mother is sitting with her 2 daughters while they eat.
We beginnen met kinderen. Maar kinderen en geesten, die combinatie... Ik vind enge dingen leuk en ik ben ook niet super snel bang of zo. Maar kinderen en geesten, die combinatie is niet nice. Let's go.
Suddenly, the oldest daughter becomes very disturbed and frightened by something she can see in the other room, even though there's nothing visible in the video.
Oké, het kind ziet wat daarachter, wat niet te zien is in de video.
It's okay.
Huh?
What are you doing? Oh, what, Nanny? Look at me. What are you scared of?
Ja, maar nee, man. Ja, nee. Nee. Kinderen en geesten, die combinatie moet verboden worden. Het is niet leuk. Bro, wat zou je doen als jouw kind naar iets wijst wat er niet is?
The fish? Oh.
De vis?
The fish died. What? Nothing, Nanny, are you almost done eating?
Oh, nee. Waar ik niet heel gek van op zou kijken trouwens, is dat kinderen, die moeten natuurlijk nog een beetje leren wat echt en niet echt is. Dat die makkelijker zijn om mee te communiceren voor de geesten, dan dat wij dat zijn. Dus dat kinderen sneller die dingen zien en horen. Het is gewoon geen goede combinatie. Laten we daar gewoon op houden.
That is, until the younger girl takes a second look, and suddenly she also sees whatever frightened her older sister. Her reaction is pure terror.
Turn around. But you gotta listen to me. Turn around. Look at me. What's the matter?
Ja, maar dit is gewoon niet nice. Wat zou je doen? Als ouder. Wat kan je doen? Ja, maar ze worden gewoon panisch. Dit is toch lijp?
Even though nothing strange was visible to their mother or captured on video.
Je ziet niks. Je ziet niks op de camera. Goed.
Guards at a loading dock in Mexico spot something strange on their security camera. What looks like a young girl dressed in all black is standing near one of their trucks.
Wacht, oké, dat zwarte figuur. Oké, die zien ze op deze camera. Toen zijn die 2 beveiligers naar buiten gegaan om te checken. En het lijkt alsof zij het niet zien. Maar wat zei hij? Hij zei kijk achter je of zo? Ze kijken echt oog in oog met die... Hij loopt er gewoon doorheen. Kijk. Ah, deze is al freaky hoor. Het is wel alsnog minder eng, ook al zie je wel de geest. Het is buiten, je bent met meerdere mensen. Ik kom nog eentje concluderen, hallo?
Creepiest of all, as the guards search, they seem to pass right through the girl.
Ja.
And one guard's flashlight shines right through her body as well.
Ah, een beetje deze apart.
This is Dalhousie Castle in Scotland. It's 800 years old. And the reason why we're here is because the place is rumoured to be haunted.
It's rumored to be haunted.
Never believed in ghosts. That is, until the journalist investigated Dalhousie Castle, an 800-year-old haunted castle in Scotland. Parker was so confident that she decided to go alone into the castle's dungeon at 2 a.m. Just her and a camera.
Ze heeft wel ballen, eerlijk. Ze gaat alleen naar beneden.
I'm down here in the dungeon. We were having dinner earlier tonight down here. And it's definitely a very, very different mood now.
2 uur 's nachts alleen in de dungeon.
Now I should point out I'm the only one in the dungeon and I'm facing the only doorway.
After sitting for a while and witnessing nothing, she even starts joking about how the castle's ghost called Lady Catherine might be, quote, rubbish.
Oi mate, you're rubbish.
So maybe it's all just rubbish.
Ik moet dat echt nooit meer doen, sorry.
Maybe it's all just hocus pocus.
Pilatus pas. Ik wou dat hier een geest was. Kom nou jongen.
Maybe there is no such thing as ghosts. Catherine. Oh, Catherine. It's creeping me out now. Okay. Okay, I get it. I'm going.
Wacht.
I'm going.
Even terug, even terug.
It's creeping me out now.
Nee, er komt geklop en 2 seconden later schrikt ze pas. Wacht even. Nou, deze weet ik niet. Nee, je schrikt wel eerder. Je schrikt wel eerder. Als je zo hard schrikt, dan schrik je wel eerder.
Okay, I get it. I'm going.
Then something moves in the dungeon, but I'm not staying to find out what it is.
I'm freaking going.
Oké, dan beweegt er wat. Alleen ze gaat niet blijven om te kijken wat het is. Ik bedoel, je komt daar voor de geest. En dan gebeurt er wat en dan ren je weg. No man, nodig mij uit. Ik ga gewoon, ik ren vol op die geest af. What's up boy? Ik zou oprecht dan wel gaan kijken.
While a man was vacationing in the Rocky Mountains, his girlfriend zoomed in and snapped an iPhone live photo of him. For those who don't know, an iPhone live photo basically captures a 3-second video along with the normal photo. Later, when they were reviewing their pictures, they found something very odd. Even though they were all alone in the wilderness that day, someone appeared to be watching the man from the field behind him. On first glance, it looks like someone standing in tall grass.
What?
But as this shot shows, the grass in that area is not that tall. So on second look at the photo, it almost appears as if the person was actually hiding in the grass.
Kind, weer een kind.
But the iPhone live photo 3-second video shows something very different. It almost looks like someone walking, even though half of the person's body would be beneath the ground.
Oké, als ze hiervoor en daarna foto's hebben gemaakt en daar staat hij niet op, dan is het freaky. Dan is het fucking freaky.
YouTube user bscotty321 was suspicious that his little sister was playing with his food every time he left the room. So he set up a camera to catch her in the act. Sure enough, she was playing with his food, but she also seemed to be talking to someone who wasn't there.
Mommy. Bathroom? I go poo-poo. Let's go dinner.
Hey! Is dat pils? Ik hoop niet dat dat pils is. Ik zag hem. Zagen jullie hem? Ik zag hem. Op het bord, het witte ding.
As she says
Servetje.
that's Billy's dinner to someone or something that can't be seen in the video, the silverware on the plate seems to move on its own.
Let's go dinner.
Dit is wel, het zou kunnen, I don't know.
A YouTuber named Junked Up Kitten and his friends are exploring an old county jail. They take a video camera with them so that they can make a parody of the Ghost Hunters television series. Little did the small group know that on this night they would accidentally capture actual evidence of real ghosts. Junked Up
Actual evidence, ik ben benieuwd. Hebben ze echt bewijs? Laten we gaan kijken.
Kitten wanders around the property with the camera close to his face while narrating. He passes by an ordinary-looking jail cell window and doesn't think much of it at the time. When he goes back
Wat?
to review the footage later, he makes a start on the window and doesn't think much of it at the time. When he goes back to review the footage later, he makes a startling discovery in the window. It looks like his parody show has turned out to be the real thing. From the other side of the glass, the colorless reflection of a man's face stares at him. You can clearly see the outline of the ghost's brow, nose, and empty eyes. His head is
Dit is gewoon een clear as day mensenhoofd.
His mouth appears to be a thin, expressionless line. If anything, the ghost has incredible timing. Right when Junked Up Kitten says that he is looking for evidence of ghosts, one just happens to show up in the window. It's almost as if the ghost was trying to make its presence known.
Dit lijkt weer te duidelijk om echt te zijn. Het is net alsof je het nooit echt wil geloven. Want als het niet op beeld staat, dan zeg je van ja, dat is het is er niet. En als het wel op beeld staat, duidelijk, dan zeg je van ja, dat kan niet echt zijn. I don't know, die is wel freaky.
This footage was taken in a popular food joint during broad daylight. A shadowy ghost suddenly materializes in a Subway restaurant. It starts out in the shape of a human and almost appears to be getting a table.
Oh.
When it gets back to its seat, the black shadow suddenly changes into a floating black blob of an orb. At this point, an employee or maybe a customer appears to see the ghost in the doorway. Whoever they are, they look stunned for a second and then quickly back away. The ghost starts to rise even higher and shrinks until it fully disappears back to wherever it came from.
Die is ook wel raar. Dit is gewoon een mist. Gewoon een zwarte mist. Ik heb zoiets ook wel gezien trouwens. No joke.
Ghosts don't have to wait until nighttime before they can begin to haunt. As this Brazilian soccer footage shows, the crowd is happily cheering on their favorite team when suddenly a shadow ghost starts sprinting through all of them. Look closely and
My
you'll
man
notice how
going
nobody
crazy.
tries to move out of the way. Not a single person tries to pull their legs in or even bothers to look up. They're
Inderdaad.
so concentrated on the game that they do not see, feel or hear the ghost as it runs directly through the
Oh,
half-filled
Usain
stadium
Bolt
in
in
a
het publiek?
straight line.
Wat de hel? Inderdaad, hij zei inderdaad, mensen trekken hun benen niet op. Dat deed hij niet. Of dat deden de mensen niet.
A YouTuber named No Ghost Hunter grows tired of living in a haunted home and decides to videotape the disturbances for evidence. It's a little past midnight when he hears scratching noises, which soon progresses into running footsteps and loud bangs. These noises appear to be coming from all different areas of the home at once. The next day, his
Thuisvideo's blijven gewoon het engste. Want als je dan zelf thuis bent, dan ga je aan die dingen denken. En dan ga je gewoon denken dat het ook bij jou gebeurt. Ik ben niet de enige die zo denkt. Ik zweer het. Jullie denken ook zo. Toch? Toch?
HD TV literally begins rocking violently from side to side all by itself. The rocking motion picks up speed until the corners of the TV are almost hitting the entertainment center, and it looks like the base is going to break. Then the TV starts rocking back and forth the other way. There is nobody behind the television, and there's no way they could have been using strings to do this. The day after, No Ghost Hunter finds a short video on his phone that he is 100% sure he did not make. The video is shot from the ground level of his kitchen. When you look at the reflection in the oven...
Wacht, een video, staat een video op zijn telefoon waarvan hij zegt dat hij die niet heeft gefilmd.
You can see that nobody is holding the phone. The phone is literally floating in midair.
Maar gaan ze die
Footage
laten
shows
zien
the
of
TV
niet?
shaking by itself again. This time, No Ghost Hunter is able to film behind the television to show that this is not a prank at all. He waves his hand above the television to show that
Hij
there's
laat wel zien dat er geen touw zit of zo. Hij doet zijn hand zo eromheen.
no wires, and he even films underneath the base to show that there is no rod coming up from the entertainment center or anything like that. A few days later, he captures his refrigerator door slamming open and closed again and again. The brazen poltergeist leaves the door open to make sure its presence
Waarom
is
heeft hij een camera in zijn koelkast?
fully known.
Waarom zou je dat hebben? Waarom zou je een camera in je koelkast hebben? Dit slaat nergens op. Oké, als jij een camera in je koelkast hebt, laat het even weten. Ik denk dat niemand dat heeft.
A group of British friends are playing catch in a courtyard when one of them sees something strange and points it out to the others. The camera follows his gaze and stops on a pale face looking at them from high above. The sickly person looks at them for a second
Pale
longer
face.
before silently slipping out of view. The group is now creeped out and wants to know who has been spying on them this whole time. The room they are talking about has been locked and unoccupied for quite some time. The manager goes up with them to unlock the door and show them around.
Ze gaan kijken. Oké.
But the place is completely empty. There's no way anyone could have been up there, yet the camera obviously says differently. The mysterious peeper has never been identified.
Inbreker? I don't know. Is dat een inbreker? Het kan. Nou, ze zeggen van niet.
There's a famous pub in Sydney, Australia, called the Carlisle Castle Hotel. For years, this local watering hole has been haunted by the ghost of Old Pete, a bitter ex-employee who left the earth quite some time ago, but not his job. His ghostly antics have been caught on camera no less than 3 times. The first time Pete was caught on tape, he was helping a customer. The unsuspecting man opens the door to the cooler when Pete decides to grab 2 bottles of red wine for himself. Looking at the footage, there's no way that the shelf gave out or anything like that.
2 is ook apart. Eentje zou je denken van, die staat niet stabiel of zo. Maar 2?
Another incident occurred when the bar was full of witnesses. Everyone is happily enjoying themselves when a hanging red wine glass suddenly dislodges itself and smashes into the counter. Glass shards fly everywhere and the entire bar takes notice.
Je ziet het niet goed. Deze vergeten we. We gaan door.
The third and final tape reveals a
nog één.
glimpse of old Pete himself. The bar is empty this time when the angry ghost suddenly materializes in front of the security camera. If you look closely, you can make out old Pete's head at the bottom of the screen. He appears to be waving. Many other bartenders and customers all claim to have seen old Pete for themselves in one way or another. By themselves, and the bartenders have seen what they can only describe as strange things while counting down their registers after close.
Oké, dit is raar. Dit is wel raar. Dit is heel raar. Kijk hoe lang die arm is, bro.
Steve and Jake are wandering around the woods one summer night with a single goal in mind. They want to explore an abandoned local chapel that's rumored to be haunted. As they approach, they see that someone
Me. That's me. Dat ben ik. Ik doe dat ook.
has written prayers and warnings all over the outside wall. The 2 friends instantly get a bad feeling about this adventure, but they swallow their fear and decide to press on.
Respect man, respect. Ze zijn gewoon alsnog ervoor gegaan en nu hebben ze gewoon een geest op cam. Weet ik niet. We gaan nu kijken of ze dat hebben. Let's go.
Sneak around back. Already, they don't want to be here much longer. They had explored an old clock tower earlier in the day and were greatly disappointed by a lack of paranormal activity.
Ze zijn wel echt op zoek naar geesten.
They go up some wooden steps and enter through the back door. They shine their flashlights flashlights deep into the church's main assembly. There's rows and rows of wooden pews ahead of them. They pass by a podium and notice a piano. Then they head deeper inside. Now they find themselves inside of a small maintenance closet. They close the door behind them because they don't want anyone sneaking up on them.
Oh no. Oh my god, turn the light.
Piano's zijn ook eng. Ik was een keer in een verlaten villa, stond ook een piano. En het is gewoon freaky. Je hebt in je achterhoofd blijf je het idee hebben van iemand gaat daarop spelen. Of iets of zo, weet je wel? Als het dan ook gebeurt, dan schrik je dood. Ik zweer het.
Listen.
Ik heb dat nog nooit gehad hoor. Niet daarvan.
Piano. Is that piano? Come on. Should we go out there? Is that door open? That door open?
It's a soft and haunting piano melody that fills the church. They debate whether or not they should go outside or stay here, where it's semi-safe. They realize that they can't spend the entire night trapped in the broom closet of a haunted church, so they turn their flashlights back on to see who is playing. Sitting at the piano at the far end of the room is a black hunched-over phantom. They scream and shut the door. Jake cries for a bit, then they run away through the back exit. The music stops as soon as they leave the church. They were hoping that the music stopped because it was over, but in reality, it was because the ghost had gotten up from the piano to chase them. They run a good distance before pausing to look back into the
Kan je dit zien? What the fuck, man?
It seems like they've gotten away, but then the ghost finds them and they run away screaming. The camera cuts off as they fall back deeper into the woods. At least one of them survived and uploaded this video onto YouTube.
At least, op zijn minst heeft eentje het overleefd, zegt hij.
Where it's remained for the past 10 years. But in
Zit daar iemand... Kijk. Zit daar iemand helemaal zo? Over zo? Wat?
it was because the ghost had gotten up from the piano to chase them. They run...
Wel, ik heb denk ik al 100 plus verlaten gebouwen bezocht en ontdekt. Maar ik heb dit heb ik nog nooit gezien. Dit is fucking creepy.
Two girls are alone in their house when one of them sees something in the doorway. Pause the video and you can see it's clearly the upper half of a young girl who is dressed in old-fashioned clothes from another time.
Dit was mijn grootste angst als klein 10-jarige Arby. Ken je The Ring? Je kent The Ring. Dat meisje, zwart haar, witte jurk. Het was mijn grootste angst dat ik die zou zien ergens, thuis, waar dan ook. Dit lijkt daar gewoon precies op.
In midair as she curiously peeks in on the two children to see what they are doing. One of the girls still doesn't see the ghost. She shouts at something that's on television and accidentally startles the ghost.
Nou, maar dit is toch ook weer zo duidelijk dat je denkt van dat kan niet.
Follows the ghost as it retreats. The ghost instantly
En die rent
teleports
ze
and
naartoe?
now stares at them from the top of the steps. The scared girls run out of the house
What the fuck?
screaming. They stop at them from the top of...
There she is. Hello my lady. Ze rennen direct naar huis. Ik geef ze gelijk. Ik geef ze groot gelijk.
Only for a second to turn around from the street. They can see the ghost girl walking across the left window on the top floor. It vanishes and then suddenly appears on the bottom floor in less than a second. They scream even louder and take off again. Back in 2008, a man started to notice some strange activities around his house. He would often come home from work to find his dogs cowering under the bed, too afraid to come out. One of his dogs would only come out from under the bed for a brief 10 seconds at most before going straight back into hiding. Something was intimidating these large dogs badly.
Dat zeggen ze ook wel, hè? Dat huisdieren, gewoon katten, honden, weet ik veel, dat die dingen kunnen sensen, dingen kunnen aanvoelen wat wij niet aanvoelen, of zien of ruiken of iets in die richting. Heb je wel eens dat je kat gewoon naar een hoek van een kamer kijkt en dan kijk jij en dan is er niks of zo? Ik heb dat wel. Dan denk je echt van, zien er nou wat of wat? Wat doen ze?
He begins to look around. He eventually traces the noise to his attic and goes upstairs with a camera for a closer look. Everything is completely trashed. Boxes are overturned and clothing is scattered everywhere. Something has violently flung all of his personal possessions all around. As soon as he goes back downstairs, he hears another huge bang and runs right back up the steps. He puts the camera down and searches the empty attic for clues. A nearby metal bucket falls over and he runs out of the room before he gets hurt. Another object hits the ground on its own and the camera moves to the right on its own too. The homeowner was too scared to look at the footage. He waited a week before going back upstairs to get his camera.
Hij is naar beneden gerend, hij heeft een week gewacht en toen had hij de moed gekregen om zijn camera op te halen.
And it isn't long before he has more paranormal evidence. Later, someone violently jiggles the doorknob to the door that leads to the attic. The door opens and shuts by itself.
Ik heb wel iets vergelijkbaars trouwens, ook meegemaakt thuis. Ik heb daar een TikTok van gemaakt trouwens. Ik zet die even beneden in de beschrijving. Ga die even checken als je die wil zien. Maar daar vertel ik letterlijk dat ik ook zoiets heb meegemaakt. Dus ga die even checken.
going back to normal for a second, but then a paper towel roll suddenly flies up from the table to the couch, and the radio starts making more sounds again. The video recording starts to get fuzzy too, as if a ghost is causing electrical disturbances by passing by. Both of his dogs begin to look in the same spot as if they are following something. Whatever it was, the man was never able to physically catch it on film. This footage comes from somewhere in the Middle East. A group of teenagers are curiously exploring an old school. They go up a flight of steps and pause when they hear a dog whining on the other side of the door. They all run down the steps and gather at the bottom. They're afraid of being attacked by a group of stray dogs now, but they decide to press on and explore the lower areas. Something just isn't right about this section of the building. A YouTuber named Zabin Jaguar translated their comments. He says at this point one of the
deze heb ik gezien.
that their
Bro, kijk.
translated their comments. He said
Er loopt een zwart figuur zonder hoofd.
At this point, one of the teens say that their phone shut itself off even though it was fully charged only a moment ago. Another person was able to keep recording, though they probably now wish they hadn't. They enter one classroom in particular.
Ze blijken het zelf niet te zien volgens mij.
And get a dreadful feeling.
Ik weet
Suddenly,
niet
a figure
zeker.
actually appears out of thin air and walks towards them. The ghost is missing his head, but there's somehow no blood. A loud chanting begins as soon as the ghost walks towards them, but this may be prayers from a nearby mosque. Amazingly, the group all appears to have missed the ghost,
Ja,
which
ze zien hem
explains
niet.
why they calmly continue to keep exploring. They wouldn't see the apparition until
Alleen op camera, net als met die bewakers. Een stukje terug.
much later, but when they did, they would never forget what was heading straight towards them in that.
Het heeft geen hoofd. Eigenlijk moet ik even al mijn beelden van begin tot eind gaan kijken. Dat ik naar verlaten gebouw ben geweest. En gewoon kijken. Gewoon kijken of ik iets zie. Want hun zagen dat niet toen ze daar liepen. Maar op camera wel. Dus misschien moet ik echt alles kijken. Van begin tot einde. Elke video die ik nog heb. Wie weet vind ik ook wel wat. Maar ja, dat was hem. Hebben deze video's mij overtuigd? Niet overtuigd. Maar het is wel echt interessant. En natuurlijk kunnen heel veel dingen gefaked worden. En ook dat mensen over heel de wereld zoveel verhalen hebben. Zoveel onverklaarbare ervaringen. Die ook weer te vergelijken zijn met het verhaal van iemand anders. Of we er ooit bewijs voor gaan vinden in ons leven. I don't know man. Maar ik blijf het interessant vinden. Ik blijf op zoek gaan. Ik blijf paranormale spelletjes proberen. En toch het op een of andere manier een beetje proberen te bewijzen voor mezelf. I don't know. Ik weet niet of dat gaat lukken. Maar ik vind het interessant. Mensen, volg me even op Instagram om kans te maken op een shout-out in mijn volgende video. Abonneer even. Like deze video. En laat vooral even weten in de comments of jullie ook iets geks hebben meegemaakt. Ik kan alles lezen. Ik ben heel benieuwd. En mensen, tot het volgende avontuur. Ciao.